Welcome to the market recap presented by Tackle Trading. Get in the game.
Good afternoon, Tackle Traders, and hello, YouTube. Frank coming at you with another halftime or market wrap-up. It's time for August 2nd. There we go. August 2nd. Give me a minute and I will remember. So, hope everybody is having a good day. I had a good day trading here today. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Tesla had their earnings last night or yesterday after the market closed, and pretty strong day today. They were about 5% a little bit after hours yesterday. Ended up closing up 16% here today. So all got rolling on that, and it just kind of kept on rolling. So I know a lot of folks like Tesla for a lot of different reasons. So happy to see it have a nice, strong earnings report. That was kind of our big earnings story for today. Going into tomorrow, or I guess let's start going to tomorrow. So let's go into the day after market close, see what we're looking at. Activision Blizzard is coming out. CBS Corporation. I've got another bunch of technology stocks. A little bit of a mix here tonight going into tomorrow. No super huge companies, but definitely not a lot of no names in there either. Tomorrow before our market opens, another slew will come in, including Kraft Heinz. Definitely a nice size, consider good company. So still in the thick of things. We are starting to wind down on the earnings. We still have some big companies coming out next week. We probably have the bulk of the big names behind us, but there's a lot of companies. And so we still have a fairly busy week of earnings ahead of us next week, but we're working our way through, and we're getting closer and closer to the end of this earnings season. Speaking of earnings, before we jump into our review of our indexes and sectors, how about Apple? Come out with a great earnings report yesterday. Hit that trillion market cap, and this is what you love to see when it comes to follow through. Buyers keep on coming on, and just don't seem to want to stop. A ton of follow through on Apple following that great report. So pretty cool to be around as the first company hits a trillion market cap. Just thought that was fun to take a quick look at. Getting to business, however, first off, let's start with our Nasdaq. Strong day in the market, and this is why we do technical analysis. The Nasdaq, this past week has pulled back to its support level, to its 50-day moving average. We saw a doji candle on Tuesday, some upward movement yesterday, some super strong follow through here today. So very nice to see. Obviously, Apple being on fire doesn't hurt anything in the market. Certainly not technology, but a really strong day in the Nasdaq. Definitely a good time for anybody trading the Qs or, generally speaking, trading technology stocks. We did see some early selling in the market today. We rallied very strong throughout the day. S&P 500 dipped to a low point of almost to that old breakout point. Buyers stepped right back in. We're well above that 2,800 that folks seem to be watching out, that we continue to test as support. So very strong day as well in the S&P 500. The Dow, they were looking ugly for a bit, but ultimately formed a pretty nice little hammer candlestick by the end of the day as more and more buyers stepped into the market. So the market showed a lot of resilience today. That's for sure. Our Russell is continuing the good fight. I think you could argue that it was able to breach that previous breakout point and close back in that old range today. Not by much, and I wouldn't put up too much of a fight if somebody said that's not enough for me. But we did clearly close back above the 50-day moving average today that we've been struggling with. So we're looking to work back into. So let's see how we operate there. What's great about this technical analysis is the potential breakout that we were talking about a couple weeks ago is still a potential breakout. We're still a ways away. We may or may not ever get there, but that's still, of course, we know how important that price is right? So we'll definitely be keeping an eye if we're able to get back in this range and back up to that resistance level. But definitely a lot of strength in the market here today, despite a little bit of a rocky start. Coming into our sectors, here we have our material sector. It happened faster than maybe we thought, but continues to trade within this pattern. Tested the top of the range a few days ago, really had a lot of selling come in yesterday, really was looking real rough earlier today, much like the Dow Jones was able to end the day on a pretty good little hammer candlestick, but as it worked its way back down into that trend line on the bottom end. So we still find ourselves within this trading range. It continues to present potential entry and exit points for traders willing to trade within it. That is for sure continuing to tighten up too. Remember, if this pattern keeps going on indefinitely, sooner or later, we're going to end up having support and resistance be the same number. And I don't know what happens there. The world explodes, I don't know. But I expect we don't stay there very long, one way or another. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that for sure. Did see some a little bit more downward overall movement in the energy sector. We overall do continue to find ourselves in this range. We're pretty much smack dab in the middle of the trading range on XLE that has been kind of stuck in over the last couple of months. So nothing too exciting going on there. We're kind of right smack dab in the middle of resistance and support. So I'd like to see it get closer to one of those before I decide I want to do something with it personally, because it's probably going to cost too much risk-wise. Otherwise, that would be my guess, for my taste at least. Looking at the financial sector, continued to overall push down from resistance, but did have buyers, much like the rest of the market, step in and stop some early bleeding. Ended up closing up on the day. Still know how important that level of resistance is. So if this ultimately is a bullish retracement, bull pullback opportunity, that will still be something that I would be watching for, because that resistance is only strengthened. We even have more evidence that it's a strong level of resistance today than we did a few weeks ago after seeing the selling come off of that. So continue to monitor that resistance level. It clearly is an important price point right now in the financial sector. Industrials, very similar to the financials, in fact, that they kind of started down and ended up closing up on the day, still hanging out below resistance, which appears to be a pretty impressive level of resistance within the industrials right now. Again, I think some people might look at this as a little bit of a pullback opportunity. I don't know that I would look at it that way just yet. I could be convinced in another day or two, but I don't know that I would be convinced just yet. But that's just me. Looking at the technology, no surprise, looks very similar to the Nasdaq. This was a really nice pattern too. Nasdaq, I think, was prettier. I liked it better because it was kind of sitting on its 50 as opposed to nestling right below it, but a very similar pattern. Nonetheless, a technology, no surprise, the tech sector is hot today, in the day where the Nasdaq is on fire. Our staples, let's go ahead and add back our 200-day moving average if we can. 200-day moving average. There we go. They've been fighting with that 200-day moving average, a little bit of back and forth. We were able to close back on top of it here today, kind of at those old highs. If we come in and look at an hourly chart, maybe let's do this. Let's come in here. You can kind of see on the hourly chart, just kind of really taking a bird's eye view of what's been going on there at that 200-day average. We can kind of see that this is kind of a continuation pattern on the hourly chart as a potential bullish breakout. So while I wouldn't blame anybody for being interested in a potential break if we're able to clear through that, push through. We've never been able to continue past that. We've had that one-day close above the 200, but weren't even able to build on that momentum at all the following day. If we can build that, we'd be breaking some intraday resistance in the form that we've seen over, while we've been having this fight over the last few days at the 200. I would personally view that as a bullish signal. Whether or not you think that would be enough for a bullish trade, that would be up to you, of course. But I do think that would be a bullish signal. But I'll need another day personally because I've seen it close before. But if I can't get any upward movement tomorrow, then maybe we're falling right back there. But keep an eye on that. Utilities, I will continue to say the same thing every day. We're still sideways, still in that same range. Not quite as in the middle as we are on the energy ETF, but still fairly close to the middle. as we continue to consolidate within the utility sector. So nothing too exciting there, in my opinion. Healthcare continues to be hot, seeing nice upward movement here today as we continue this run off of this break. So that area continues to be one of the stronger areas in the market overall, not just today, but they've had a pretty good run the last couple of weeks, that's for sure. So they continue to be pretty technically sound coming through that breakout point. So we'll continue to monitor them as well. Coming into our discretionary, interesting, we're sitting right on of course we were sitting there yesterday, but we did bounce off of that 50-day moving average here today as a potential, almost a bullish engulfing candle. So potential bullish pullback opportunity within the discretionary sector from a technical point of view, at least. And then last but not least, our real estate. No terrible surprise to us technicians that we did see a little bit of struggle at resistance. We closed just right there yesterday, dojied here today, as understandably some folks were taking some profits at that resistance level. So continue to monitor that. If you are following that, remember that can potentially be a bullish breakout for us as well, right? If we break that resistance, that is by definition a breakout. So for that could be a potential entry for anybody who is interested in that. Not everybody likes to trade those breaks, especially after pullbacks, and that's cool. And there's a lot of ways to do this, but keep an eye on that resistance. Obviously, any bullish real estate traders definitely want to see us push through that, right? That's for sure. So that's where we find ourselves in our sectors here today. We had a nice pop on the dollar following the Bank of England's monetary decision, but we're still in that range, although we're close to the top of that range now. Let's go to the dollar index here. We're pretty close to the top of that range. Again, if we break through that, that is by definition a breakout opportunity for technicians if they are interested. So I never assume we're going to break resistance, but when we're close, I always start preparing as if, okay, if we do I want to trade it? If so, how do I want to trade it? Do I want to trade the pair? Do I want to go trade the ETF? Do I want to buy shares of the ETF or do an option strategy? I can be thinking about these things in advance, right? I don't know if or when it'll break resistance. I might not even think it has a chance, but I can still think about if it does, would I be interested in, right? But we're getting pretty close there. So we'll see where we go on the dollar. Nice to see some movement in there. Been kind of dull lately, it seems like, in the overall market. Coming into crude oil, a nice little rebound in both crude and natural gas today, as the bulls step back into following a couple days of selling. Here we have crude, here we have natural gas. So definitely saw some bulls step back into the energy market here today. When it comes to our gold and silver, we continue to struggle. Gold actually was able to close below 1220, which I know a lot of technicians have been looking at as a short-term level of support. We do have quite a bit of historic support in my mind at 1200. And so for me, I've not been all that interested in this little consolidation pattern because we were so close to what I believe at least is a strong level of support. I don't think the risk to reward is great personally. But we did see some downward movement that kind of pushing through those little mini floors they've been trying to build off of, and no surprise, silver very, very similar. A lot of selling in that regard as well. So that's where we find our major commodities, and the dollar, definitely an interesting day for the dollar. I always love when things are getting close to the top of their range because either resistance is going to hold and giving me a potential opportunity for a bearish play, or resistance is going to break, giving me a potential opportunity for a bullish play. I may or may not do anything, but I love when I get to those points on the chart because I know that something can be done. Whether or not I think it's worth it is the real question, right? So that's where we find ourselves. Going into tomorrow, we have our unemployment report tomorrow, so be sure to stay on top of that, as we know that can have an impact on the overall market. Be sure to be following along with your companies, even though most companies probably have had their earnings by now. There's still some around the corner, so if you haven't done so already and have some open trades, go in, check that earnings date, make sure that if it's still ahead of us, you plan accordingly, whatever that means to you, whether it's closing the trade before the announcement, buying some insurance, taken the gamble, that it works in your favor. That decision is yours to make, but just make sure that you're the one making it. So, go ahead and double check those open trades or trades that you're looking to build right now. Make sure the earnings date isn't behind them, so you can plan accordingly, whatever that exactly means to you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is always my pleasure to spend some time with you. I certainly appreciate everybody's time. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the Tackle Trading YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted anytime we do new videos, whether it's live streams, market recaps, how-tos, tutorials. Always love to get those to you, and there's always a new video right around the corner. If you enjoyed the market recap, I always appreciate a thumbs up, as it really helps when it comes to YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Frank from Tackle Trading. As always, happy trading. Keep following those rules, and I will see you in the next one.